Good evening. I hope you had a good weekend. I tried to relax the best I could. I was in flight sim in and out. I never spend as much time in it as I would like to. I don't know. It's better when you've got people that you're actually actively flying with, and that kind of gets hard to do when you never know when it is exactly that you're gonna have a chance to go flying. So, someday if the world don't fall apart, I'll find a group of folks to fly with and have some fun. But I posted a video earlier of my misadventures, and it just so happened that I went into the sim, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and just click record, and for the heck of it. And it just so happened, as I was taking off, as I was taxiing to the runway, I saw another plane like the one I was in go flying by, and it just so happened that he was doing the same thing I like to do, which is buzz around the airports, and so I followed him, and it was a bunch of fun. It was a ball. So anyway, other than that, just kept an eye on all of the craziness that's going on. Notably, a lot of media is starting to really talk about these shortages. And I would say that folks need to take heed. I have seen everything from talking about general shortages, food shortages, shortages on, some paper products. And I have also seen them now start talking more seriously about getting that Christmas shopping done. And it's to the tone of, they're serious with it, but at the same time they're trying not to be alarming with their message, and you can tell. So I would heed that warning if I were you. If you're squared away as far as, preparedness, or you just don't care, get your Christmas shopping done. If that's what you intend to do, get your Christmas shopping done. Because I don't think they're idle or false threats whatsoever. I think that, like I've been saying, this month, people would start noticing the shortages. I was accurate. We're coming up to the end of this month, and even the general population has started noticing the shortages. Remember what I said about next month. Next month, the shortages, and I remembered the word that I put on it, is going to be inescapable. Inescapable. Meaning that, my opinion, I think that this coming month that all of us are going to have issues here and there finding what we need to complete a meal. I think it's going to be hit and miss on a lot of goods. And I don't see it getting any better anytime soon, and neither do they. And they're starting to be pretty clear about that. There was a survey that was done, and I had shared this out on Friday. This actually was the first article I shared out Friday. And let me bring it up for you guys. As you can see, it says more than half of Americans polled say they have been personally affected by supply shortages in the U.S., a new survey shows. So, I'm not going to go read the whole entire article, but I'll read a little bit here. It says a majority of Americans surveyed said they have personally faced shortages in coming consumer goods, according to a new poll which comes amid ongoing supply chain issues linked to COVID-19 and a dwindling national workforce. Conducted by polling firm Trafalgar earlier this week, the new survey showed that nearly 54% of 1,000 Americans polled said they had personally encountered delays or shortages when attempting to purchase common consumer products, suggesting significant scarcities across the country as the effects of COVID-19 and associated government lockdowns continue to interfere with the international supply chain. So clearly, there are, a fair amount of individuals having issues here. And I think it is something that we might want to take note of. In all seriousness, we might want to heed their warnings. I wouldn't, I wouldn't want to be the person that's just starting out now. Because like right this moment, you can still hit things kind of fierce if that's not an issue. You can still get a selection of different things that would most certainly be shelf stable long enough for you to be able to get past. But I don't think that's going to be there much longer. I think come next month, those items are going to start to disappear. And already there's starting to be a sentiment, a negative sentiment against preppers. And pretty much people that will go to the store and get a few extra things and people noticing it in their carts. There have been individuals reporting that, nothing major that I'm aware of. But, people getting pissy and saying stuff or whatever because somebody bought 3 of an item instead of 1, for instance. I think you're going to see this increasing, and it's going to be for a multitude of reasons. One of them is simply because they think that because you're buying a couple extra that means somehow down the road they're not going to have access to it. Or in many cases, you find that it's because either they don't have the motivation and whatever you want to call it, the common sense, in my opinion, to do the same thing, or they can't afford to. And so, all of a sudden, any one of those instances, people automatically will start pointing fingers and doing anything to encourage a negative opinion of other individuals. Hang on, let me take a peek over here. We've got a storm system that's moving through. I'm keeping an eye on. It looks like we're cool for right now. So, storm system's been moving through, and they have been known to spawn tornadoes. So, nothing in the path of us, though. So, anywho, man. So I hope that this is something that doesn't get out of control. Do I think it will? I don't think so. And the reason why is because there are so many individuals that are wise to what's going on with the media, that are wise to what's going on with the government. A buddy of mine, I was talking to him today, and he, indicated that the general mood just out and about, and I'm not really surprised for this area, but, the general mood for this particular area is pretty much pretty solid. Let's go, Brandon. So everywhere he goes, one of his, I don't know if it's his, I guess his grandchild, is plays sports here in town, and so he's been going to the football games and stuff, and it's pretty much a let's go Brandon spirit around these parts. So I'm not surprised, not in the least bit. But what he made a point to mention is that people are pretty vocal. People are talking about it. People are they're speaking, and that says a lot. That says a whole lot. Now, your mileage may vary. It could be very different wherever it is that you live. As I said, I am not surprised with this particular area. I've lived here since I was 5 years old. I pretty much know the place. And that's a good thing. That's why I'm here. Man, I'll tell you, I do think things are going to get a little hectic. And I hope that they don't reach a level that people are starving. I hope they don't reach a level, one of the big concerns I have, of course, and I've talked about it, is the rise of energy costs, the heating costs this year. I think it's going to be nasty. And I have heard like multiple different reports, predictions for this winter saying it's going to be way nastier than normal. And then I've actually heard the opposite for our particular area, that our particular area was actually, I'd heard a report that it was going to be wetter than normal, but warmer than normal. So, if that's the case, then, we may not fare so bad. But me personally, I think this winter's probably going to be a bit of a doozy. So we'll see. Like I said, make sure you're prepared for heat. So we're still working at getting the last bits that we need. Just as a quick refresher, my theory is, I think everybody, if you live in a climate that can get cold, you better be prepared this winter to provide alternate heat, be able to stay warm, whatever you can do. And so my theory is that I would rather have first level, the first thing I want to get out of the way is make sure that we have enough in the form of like layers, say sleeping bag, wool blankets, and in order to stay warm enough to survive, that is, without any heat at all. Nothing. Without any heat. And then that way, no matter what it is that you have planned for your heating solution, if that falls through, or if all your plans fall through, you can still bundle yourself up in layers and survive. And to me, that should be your most important priority when it comes to being able to, escape the elements. So, and then from there, my intent is to get one of those diesel heaters, but just kind of one thing at a time kind of thing. So still not showing anything yet from YouTube as far as any estimated earnings. I have a feeling I won't see nothing until sometime maybe around the 11th of next month, if it's still the same as what it used to be. I might see a number there, I think, possibly on the 11th, I think. So we'll see. Anyway, it ain't gonna be enough anyway to cash out. So it'll probably be 2-3 more months before we even have enough to cash out. But so I've got a little bit of website money coming in, and so that will go to another component of our warm weather gear, and then Amazon affiliate. Got a little bit coming in from that, so that's also going to go, and then I'm still about $100 shy of completing that mission. So one thing at a time, and then I can start on the diesel heater. So why do I get the feeling it'll be like springtime and I'll be buying the diesel heater? I hope not, because I really do think we're going to be running into problems this winter. So all else failed. I mean, I don't have any 90s or anything for it. I don't have the piping that I need, to be honest, but I do have a tent stove here. One way or another, we will survive, and I know that. I'm not stupid, for one, and there's many ways to skin a cat. I'm just trying to go about it, I don't know, the best way I can see fit, that's going to be as easiest to deploy, and best likelihood of working without an issue. And I highly recommend, the reason why I'm going through all this again is because I highly recommend folks do this, especially when it comes to heat. because I think many of us are going to be put in a bad way this winter when it comes to our heating situation. Whether you're natural gas, whether you're electric heat, propane, if your tank's full, you're good. As long as you've got power to be able to power your furnace, you're good. If you don't, it doesn't matter how much propane you've got. If you don't have no current coming in through those lines to be able to power that furnace, that propane tank ain't going to make you a bunch of difference. Yeah, absolutely. You can probably, I don't even think the newfangled gas ovens, I think will still let you light them without electricity. I could be wrong, but you've got your oven there if you've got a propane tank. But your natural gas, you could be hosed. Electric, you could be hosed. So make sure you've got some type of backup plan in place. And then food. Way to filter water. I can't recommend this stuff enough. I don't have a real easy feeling about this winter. I think it's going to be a doozy. So, don't sweat what other people think when you go to the store. If you're buying a couple of flats worth of cans of stuff, it's not your problem. What they think is not your problem. Your loved ones, those that you are buying those goods for, that's your problem. And remember that. If people aren't doing this, if people haven't been doing this, that's on them. That's not on you. It's not on you. And don't let it be on you. Let's see. Trying to think of anything else before I dive into headlines, because we got quite a few since I'll be doing the headlines from Friday on through today. Can't think of anything. Just keep your eyes open. I mean, stuff is really fluid, and you're going to see that in the as I go through the headlines. You're going to see just how fluid situations are. Let's see. Okay, well, that's sports, but yet I think that's kind of... There was one more headline I needed to get shared out before I start here. And it's sports, however, I think it's something closely enough news-related that we might ought to want to share it. Okay, let me have a sip of coffee, you know the drill. Folgers doesn't sponsor me, but they should. 100% Colombian. Good stuff. And a couple of vapes. Alright, let's do this. You guys might want to see. Again, remember, this is Friday. Biden says U.S. is committed to defending Taiwan from China, signaling break with decades-long strategic ambiguity. Okay, you say it. And just imagine I did. Anyway, that damn policy. Continuing on. Walmart sets up hundreds of Bitcoin. You know what? Whoever wrote this article probably watches the show and they're like, watch this. No, I'm kidding. Let's see. Walmart sets up hundreds of Bitcoin ATMs at its stores across the U.S. So apparently, yeah, the Coinstar machines now. Yeah. So who knows where that's going to lead. 16 people dead and one, and I'm not saying that necessarily in a bad way, but I don't know. 16 people dead and one badly injured after devastating explosion at gunpowder production facility near Russian city of Ryazan. And again, this was Friday. You see what that was. Okay. Let me take another peek over real quick at the radar. These storms are reported as cycling, and they are weakening and then strengthening, and then weakening and then strengthening. That is why I'm kind of keeping a close eye on them. Funds investing in Russia raised $130 million in 1 week. U.S. veteran single-handedly halts attempted armed robbery in the blink of an eye. Let's see. Give our tax back, citizens say, as London mayor launched funding scheme for renaming streets in the name of diversity. Beijing rolls out COVID-19 booster jabs to its residents as Winter Olympics loom as China passes 1 billion vaccinated milestone. Beijing signals its tech industry crackdown is winding down. Let's see. After decades of political strife and upheaval, Russia has developed herd immunity to extremism and damaging revolutions, says Putin. Okay. That's because you stomp them out pretty quick. Navalny, anybody? Tsunami of unmet need. England's health and social care system exhausted and depleted due to staff shortages, a report says. Chinese Foreign Ministry blasts NBA star who called Xi Jinping brutal dictator over cultural genocide in Tibet. Merkel warns against isolating Poland, calls on EU nations to find a compromise to prevent unwanted Pole exit. Moldova on verge of declaring state of emergency over gas shortages, officials say, as talks with Russia to secure supplies stall. Second line of Nord Stream 2 pipeline will be filled with gas in December, says Putin. Tech giant YouTube doesn't seem to know why it banned our channels, head of RTDE reveals, as fight to restore them continues. Director Joel Souza out of hospital after Alec Baldwin accidentally shot him on film set and killed cinematographer. And I'm sure you've probably seen 1,001 memes over that situation, so... China won't compromise on core interests, says Beijing, after Biden claims U.S. is committed to Taiwan's defense. And you know, of course, memes is the best place to get information. But those in particular, you know, some of them are kind of fun. Increased risk of heart inflammation from Moderna COVID jab in young men, U.S. regulator says, after suspensions in Nordic nations. I'm not really a fan of entertainment, period. So, I just know how all of this is going to get spun. And one way or another, it's going to be, the Second Amendment's fault. One way or another. And you know it as well as I do. Let's see. Companies use six-figure salary, $15,000 bonuses to attract truckers. Australia Education Minister raises specter of China and radical Islam during criticism of proposed history curriculum in schools. Putin praises U.S. withdrawal of troops from Afghanistan as Russia ponders removing Taliban from the terror list. Moscow battered by gale force winds, causing chaos on streets and even ripping down scaffolding, damaging iconic Kremlin walls. Again, this was shared Friday. NATO unveils master plan to defeat Russia in nuclear war as Moscow says confrontational playbook shows it was right to cut ties. And this situation shows no sign whatsoever of letting up. Not even remotely. It's insane. I never thought that we would see another Cold War, and especially on the level, because I personally believe I'm positive. We are on higher tension levels now than we were before during the original Cold War. I really firmly believe that. And I think that we're in that situation with more countries right now than we were then. Russia's foreign trade turnover may surpass pre-pandemic levels, says Federal Customs Service. U.S. Defense Secretary Austin doubles down on Biden's vow to support Taiwan against China. Turkey arrests 81 suspects linked to Gulen in crackdown against Muslim cleric who Ankara accuses of being behind the 2016 coup. Sudan divided as thousands say they want generals to take over and clean up transitional government's mess. Stronger European defense strategy will also strengthen NATO, French minister tells alliance leaders. Russia and Israel are connected by a very deep bond, and Putin is close true friend of the Jewish people, says Israeli MP Bennett. Russia boosts gas supplies to Italy by nearly 16% this year, says Gazprom. UK politicians offered security operative to protect constituency meetings after MP David Ames was murdered. Pardon me. OPCW appears to collude with Western nations to pin Navalny's poisoning on Russia, Moscow's envoy to the watchdog claims to RT. Let's see. Absolutely nothing to indicate another lockdown needed, Johnson says, despite concerns from advisors about rising infections. Siberian woman discovered living in metal barrel for more than 3 decades with no heating or power, given a new home by bloggers. And that was a sad story. I read that story. Poor woman. She worked at a place, and I guess that place quit. You know, they went out of business essentially, and supposedly she was on a list to be rehomed in a building that they built, and I don't know, I guess they kept tossing her name down the list or whatever, and they never did get her into a place. These barrels, as they call them, were temporary shelters that they were built for the employees that were displaced from this company to live in, and they were just temporary. They weren't meant to be stayed in any length of time. Well, most of the others got moved on to housing as they promised, but I don't know if there were others, but she was left behind essentially, and no matter how many times she tried addressing it with them, they just pushed her to the side. And so she had, over 3 decades, been living in that. So, kind of crazy. Let's see. Candace Owens mockingly calls for intervention in tyrannical I can't speak at all. Australia triggering critics. Canada drops COVID advisory warning citizens to avoid going abroad, but maintains request for travelers to be double jabbed. Need some coffee. Alright, and we're still on Friday stuff that I put out Friday. Let's see, I already read that one. U.S. hits second largest deficit after 2.77 trillion. Wow, let me try that again. U.S. hits second largest deficit ever at $2.77 trillion after 2 years of pandemic spending. Damn. NYPD set up police cordon, calling bomb squad after suspicious package found near UN building. Young award-winning rapper shot dead in Stockholm. Murder raises fears of escalating gang violence. Wow. There's a total of, is that 3 or 4? It looks like 4 tornado warnings south of us. Hang on. Kid you not. Let's see. What would we see there? There you go. See? 4 different tornado warnings at the same time. That's like insane. We're like up here. Like right where the cursor is, so we don't have to worry. If anything, we gotta worry. This storm might clip us here, but right now it's not even listed as a severe thunderstorm. But south of us, 4 different tornado warning boxes right in a row. That is crazy. Okay. Let's see. Refugee exodus. Possible if there's no stability in Afghanistan, Taliban delegation head says to RT. No change in U.S. policy on Taiwan, White House says after Biden vows to defend it against China. There was a bit of an uproar that he had caused when he kept going on and on about that. Let's see. Man armed with knife neutralized by French police after threatening officers. Let's see. Progressives Benoit Tandon named White House staff secretary to chorus of raised eyebrows. Twitter says its algorithm is biased towards right-wing content, says it will study results of problematic review. So in other words, what I think is happening is there's so much more right-wing content than left-wing content that even their algorithms is not enough to silence it. I'm just telling you what I read when I read that. I'm pretty sure that's probably pretty accurate. Kosovo's government is illegitimate, and its expulsion of 2 Russian diplomats on UN business has no legal force, says Moscow. NATO's dodgy geography, U.S.-led bloc's insistence on moving on from Russia to confront China will put West on dangerous new ground. Sorry, my neck. My back is so far out of adjustment, it's unreal. Let's see. It's like tearing me up. SCOTUS to hear Texas abortion ban challenge, but refuses to block law. Let's see. Fully vaccinated definition could change in the future thanks to approved COVID-19 booster shots, CDC acknowledges. Yikes. And yeah, I'm actually popping my vertebrae when I do that because they get out. And so I take my knuckle on my thumb and just go back and forth. Yeah, it's the only way I can get any relief. It's crazy. EU postpones free trade talks with Australia for second time in wake of simmering multi-billion-dollar submarine deal row. U.S. drone strike in northwest Syria killed senior al-Qaeda leader, says CENTCOM. Up to 200 Americans still stranded in Afghanistan, State Department says, nearly 2 months after ending Kabul evacuation mission. Snowden tells Belmarsh Tribunal, if you love truth, you're as much of a criminal as Assange and risk sharing his fate. Let's see. That's more about that Alec Baldwin shooting. National School Board Association backtracks after asking White House to label dissident parents domestic terrorists. India to... Oh, wait a minute. We are actually on yesterday's news. It started with that one. So, India to become 10 trillion economy by 2030, says the minister. Russia to hike wheat export duty again next week. Pros outweigh cons. FDA weighs risks of side effects and hospitalizations of Pfizer jab in 5 to 11-year-olds. They're actually planning on starting to vaccinate that age group next month. And from my understanding, starting kind of earlier on next month. And remember how this happened the last time when it came to this quote-unquote authorization. When they said that they would, we'd like to see it by this time, well, they were on it, and they definitely had it not only by that time, but even a little before the time they kept saying they wanted it by. So you can bet your butt that come early on next month that this is going to be approved, quote-unquote, for 5 to 11-year-olds. So we'll see how it goes, but patterns, yo. Gold prices on the rise amid fears of worldwide inflation. Turkey's purchase of U.S. F-16s and upgrade kits as compensation for being dropped from F-35 program moves forward, says the defense minister. Let's see. Facebook leaks network knew it radicalized users and was too slow to root out QAnon and anti-vaxxers, critics say. Biden administration unleashes pseudo national gender strategy report to weaponize equity where democracy no longer works. Still never have had that brick wall built that I can beat my head up against, but before the apocalypse I need to get on that. NATO can only respond with harsh statements amid military advancements of Russia and China, says Karen Niesel. Well, whatever, Karen. Russia is ready to boost coal and gas supplies to China, but says problems with transportation remain. A kidnapping trial of ex-Italian Interior Minister Salvini, who barred cross-sea migrants from entering the country, begins in Palermo. The 2021 oil price rally is far from over. We're still on yesterday's news. Release of JFK records delayed again, with Biden citing COVID-19 and national security. And remember, Orange Man delayed it too, so don't you just love that? Don't you love it? Now COVID-19, and national security, which was Trump's excuse too. It's ridiculous. And here's the thing. They could give out everything that they said they were withholding, and there wouldn't be anything in there that would tell you anything important anyway. Why? Because they're not going to give you that information. They're going to make you beg and beg and beg for a bone, and that's all they're going to give you is a little bitty bone. Russian and Chinese warships on first ever joint patrol mission in Pacific. Hollywood calls for ban on real guns on set after Alec Baldwin kills cinematographer. Russia will cut gas supply to Moldova unless debt is paid and new contract signed before December 1st, says Gazprom. Turkey to declare U.S. and 9 other ambassadors persona non grata after call for release of jailed opposition figure, says Erdogan. Assange supporters rally in London as U.S. prepares new extradition attempt. NATO not ready for equal dialogue, Russian defense minister says, as German counterpart wants bloc ready to deter Moscow with nukes. So you see Europe now, actually, and I think it's in the headlines pointing out about the arms race now that is starting up in Europe as well. U.S. representative censored after calling transgender first female 4-star admiral a man on Twitter, and I'll just have to tell you, my feelings, my opinion is he should be completely and totally and utterly ashamed of himself. I'm talking about the one on the right, not the one on the left. The one on the right needs to be completely, totally, and utterly ashamed with himself. Continuing on. School district offers parental opt-out for mask mandate after reports about forced masking of Down syndrome child. Migrant caravan breaks through Mexican police as Biden blasted for claiming he hasn't had time to visit the border. Heavily armed gunmen attack Nigerian prison, free hundreds of detainees, most still on the run. Let's see. Fauci under fire from lawmakers after reports U.S. taxpayer money spent on cruel dog experiments. U.S. is running out of cardboard and packaging materials as the supply chain crisis drags on, making it harder for retailers to ship online orders. I do expect this really to continue on in every single area. I really do think towards the end of next month, I think anybody with a clue in their head is going to have a fair amount of concern. GTA fans notice Confederate flag removed in remastered version and say developers have become the thing they mocked for so long. So even Grand Theft Auto is now politically correct. That's when you know the end is nigh. Man slaps provincial governor during inauguration in Iran. And apparently it was because his wife, the guy's wife, was given her COVID-19 vaccine from a male. And that's like a big deal over there. A very big deal. So they walked right up and slapped him. So I'm not going to judge him for it, you know. And the reason I say that is because you have to understand that's their belief, and that was kind of an uncool thing there. This isn't the United States with our culture and our, you know, ways of life. This is Iran. They live by a totally different set of standards, different rules, the whole nine yards. And yeah, that was a pretty big deal for her to be given that by a male nurse. So Twitter's Dorsey warns of surging inflation after his platform mistakenly censors GOP lawmakers' video about inflation. And that was, let's see, last night. Fire erupts on board of cargo ship off Canada's coast after hazmat containers catch fire, sending toxic fumes in the air. Okay, now we're to this morning. Gonna have some coffee, a couple of vapes. Headlines weren't too insane today. Check back over the with the I actually closed the page a while ago instead of keeping it up. Just taking a peek. Yep, still got 4 separate warning boxes. That's crazy, but it looks like we're still okay. We're gonna have a little bit of a bumpy storm come through, but it doesn't look too severe. Oh, yapper. All right, back to the news. All right, this morning, IMF slashes Asia growth forecast, warns of ravaging COVID spread and supply chain disruptions. China's Evergrande averts default with last-minute bond payment and resumes work on 10 projects. Thousands flood Swiss capital to decry COVID certificates. Russia's gold and foreign currency reserves rise by almost $5 billion in just 1 week. Russians stock up on foreign currency, choose U.S. dollar over the euro. Colombia arrests most wanted drug lord, I don't know if it's O'Neill, in jungle raid involving 500 troops and 22 choppers. They were kind of serious about getting him. Sudan stalls entry of fuel-carrying ships into its waters to avoid fines for protest-related delays, says the Energy Ministry. Bubbly sales surge globally, edging close to pre-pandemic highs. NATO's new secret plan for nuclear war and space battles with Russia risks spiraling Europe into new arms race between the East and the West. And already starting to see that. It's actually starting to happen. Beloved cartoon characters Masha and the Bear to appear on Russian commemorative coins. New York Times journalist hacked. Researchers suspect Saudi Arabia of having used notorious Pegasus malware. Sudanese police use tear gas as pro-military protesters try to block key roads in Khartoum. German police break up radical vigilante patrols targeting illegal migrants at Polish border. Taxi driver freed from Guantanamo Bay after 17 years of brutal torture with no charges. German safety official tells RT that risk of electric vehicle fires is completely unaddressed. And it is something that has gone unaddressed. Major anti-terrorist joint drills staged by Russia and post-Soviet allies conclude on Afghan border in Tajikistan. Biden becomes most disappointing American president since World War II, a poll reveals. Did we really need a poll? I mean, I think we all know. Let's go, Brandon. Biden has pledged that America is back, but as peace shatters in the Balkans, does that mean yet more U.S. overseas misadventures? Well, we'll have to see, but what was really meant with that was Biden said America is back, and that's because he thought he lost it. He couldn't find his America. He thought he put it on the table, and it wasn't there anymore. So, he just thought he lost it. He went to go eat some ice cream, and then all of a sudden it came back to him. Oh, I'm in America. America's back. America's back, everybody. I'm pretty sure that's how that played out. U.S. places Russians on homeless nationalities list, diverting immigrant visa seekers to Poland. Florida Governor DeSantis to offer $5,000 hiring bonus for police who lose jobs on vaccine mandates in other states. That's one way to do it. Protesters breach barriers outside New York Arena and demand that Brooklyn Nets reinstate unvaccinated star Irving. That was the headline. It was kind of sports, but yeah, it touches enough on the news. I figured it was worthy of sharing. So anyway, that's it. That's the headlines I've got for you. I am going to sneak out and relax for the rest of the evening. And God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it again. Certainly hope to see you then. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.